from my perspective on this as the owner and the one kind of doing this, especially like this past month and a half, has just been incredibly exhausting. Like
You're starting to show.
yeah, I mean, it is. I'm exhausted by it all. I love the outcome and I love the direction that we're going, but because essentially what happened here is I had to learn all this shit by myself back, 3, 4, 5 years ago and actually do it all myself. So now that I've kind of been more hands off on stuff, other people have been doing it. I've been kind of hesitant to jump back in because I had this whole notion of, work on the business, not in the business, right? Well, if I'm sitting here actually doing these, writing the blogs, like I wrote a blog yesterday, let me write them. Let me do the website copy. Let me do all these other things because as stuff is happening, and everybody's learning this stuff, I recognize that I now need to step back in and get this thing going. So it's been an unbelievably exhausting journey to go through it, but I'm very, very, very glad because what it does is it's two things. One, it helps retain everybody who's got the exact culture fit that we're looking for. They were just in the wrong seat. And the second aspect of that is when I get back in and actually do this stuff, I now see the inefficiencies. I see how things, if I didn't jump back in, how they could go, right? So essentially, I'm back now to working the assembly line with everybody else and going, oh, wow, okay, here's how we can make, I sat over Mike's shoulder one time and just watched him edit video, and I was like, what if we did this, this, and this? And he was like, oh, yeah, that would shave off half the amount of time. Now that I look back on, everything that we've done over the past year, I realized, I was so strong in this work on the business, not in the business, and I thought that if I was still very hands-on with the actual product, that was the wrong thing for me to do.
Cgtv.
Ooh.
We're good?
We're good. What's up, everyone?
What's up? What's up?
Welcome to the Fireside Chat.
What's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
Fantastic, buddy. Let's get into it. So I see a couple people have already done it, but if you are coming in and watching this live, go ahead and give me #live. If you are watching this as a replay or a recording, go ahead and do #replay in the comments. So I think I already asked you once already on this conversation, but
how am I doing?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. It was a good Monday. Got a lot done today. Had some good training with our SEO specialist, Ian. Learning more and more each day from him. So it's just cool to get to implement some of the things now that kind of learned the concepts over the past couple months now, but it's really like putting it into action now. So it's cool.
Love that. And right now, Logan and you actually are getting ready to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan to visit Todd Tribble. Is Aaron going as well?
Aaron is going as well. So going to be out there visiting Tom. Never been to Ann Arbor, never been to Michigan, actually. So looking forward to that. Todd is one of our longstanding clients. Only got to talk to him on the phone or Zoom. So it's really cool just getting out to actually see face-to-face one of our clients and really get to see the process, kind of live the life of a day of a contractor. So I'm excited for that.
Love that. Love that. And I know for you, well, I guess for both of us, but for you specifically, you got to speak quite a bit with contractors this last week, man.
Yeah.
You've been traveling quite a bit.
I got to live the life in your shoes for a little bit of just kind of front lines, talking to contractors. It was really cool. We went to Atlanta for a Build Expo, a trade show. CGN had our own booth set up and kind of just talked through local contractors in the area about what we did. And I know we'll talk about it a little bit today, but definitely have good appreciation for your skill set, Chris, because it's not easy just kind of talking to someone, right, that you don't really know very well and kind of building that trust right away. I did that in a previous role, but it's just a little different and kind of get back into it. So definitely have appreciation for what you do now, man.
I appreciate that, man. And my goal today is to talk about a couple of things. Well, first and foremost, man, I actually see him here. Shannon Sweeney actually traveled to kind of come see us in Atlanta. That was super cool to see him there. I know that you'll see him again in Mile High in September, but it was really cool to connect with him over the last couple of days. We were there for a couple of hours together, but it was still cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, I saw that post just to come out that far to see us. That's cool. It's really cool, man. Thank you for doing that.
All right, so for you, let's get to it. I want to hear from you. We'll go to the trade show a little bit, but two things I want to cover today. I want to go, let's do a deep dive of, we're open and transparent. Let's do a deep dive of what's going on in CGN from your perspective, your world, maybe like your transition to CGN, how things have kind of been happening for you so far. And like I have heard, I think, we got one from Chris Freight and I think a couple of people as well, but they talked about us being transparent last week was something they really enjoyed. So what I love to do is continue to be transparent that way. Let them get to see what's kind of like behind the curtain, right? But before we get into that, I'll talk about trade show stuff. So for you going to the trade show, I know you've been to several, I guess, trade shows beforehand. This is your first one specifically for contractors. What were your major takeaways from that show?
Really like I said, just to give some context, I've been to a couple of trade shows. I worked in kind of the healthcare engineering field previous to CGN. And we had these trade shows, it's like roofing contractors. These are more commercial, industries, but, did a lot of like kind of hanging by the booth, talking to people coming in about what we did. So I kind of had that sense of what this was going to be about. But like you said, this was specifically for contractors. So I was very interested to kind of know how the field was going to be, what kind of people are we getting? Are we talking with people that have, established businesses, been doing this for 20 years? Or is these people that are like, hey, I'm looking to kind of pick this up off the ground?
All right, so what reoccurring thing did you hear? So like, I know it's in my mind, but what were you hearing? Like, were there any trends you were hearing on a consistent basis?
Logan hit the nail on the head on his post today in Facebook about really, I hear a lot about the marketing strategy. Hey, the question was asked, what do you do for marketing now? After like, hey, what do you guys do? So on and so forth. What do you do for marketing? I heard a lot of, I'm strictly referral based.
Okay, before you guys get into that, what I would love right now is in the comment section. All right, what I want to hear from you guys are contractors. This is your space. I want to ask you that exact same question. All right, what do you guys do right now for marketing? All right, I love selling. I always have my sales hat on, but I will take my sales hat off today. Not looking to sell anybody anything, but I want to be upfront and honest with what one another talk about. Was our experience in Atlanta, was that
like a
one-off situation, or is that what's going on here? So right now, when it comes to your space right now, what are you guys doing right now for marketing? All right, because when you ask people in Atlanta what they're doing for marketing, what do they tell you?
Word of mouth referral. That's no, so
same thing, one and the same, right? But
yeah.
But the mass majority of their marketing, and I'm not saying that and to minimize it, but a large part of their marketing was simply just word of mouth and referrals. And word of mouth and referrals are absolutely amazing. They should be part of your business, right? But from a scalable, a growing standpoint, from a consistency standpoint, there is some things you need to also, I would say, supplement those with so that you can be able to be consistent and also be able to scale the business.
Yeah, I think what I heard is that they're obviously doing something right?
Yeah.
If people are singing your praises and referring you out, like you did something right, but what is that thing? Is it just, and you may not know that because you don't ask the question. And so I think I saw a lot of light bulbs go off when at the expo when you or Logan or Jen or any of us would ask, deeper questions as to why. It's like, well, I never really thought about that. I think it's because I just do good work. Maybe I showed up on time, kind of what we hear, but it's like, all right, well, how can people find out that you do that? How can people understand that you are all about that? How do you separate yourself from the rest of the pack? Because everyone's going to say that, right? I communicate very well.
What it really is going from the abstract to the concrete, right? So, and I saw Ryan Kelly said, check your inbox. Are you referring to my home inbox here in North Carolina, or do you mean my inbox on Facebook? Let me know, and I'll check that out as well. But I love this. So Stephanie talks about how she's got a Google campaign. She's starting that out. Love that. Shannon actually talked about he does IG and Facebook. Kevin talked about social media, SEO, direct mail, IG and Facebook. Okay, so think about this for a second. Let's talk a little bit about how all of those things work. All right, from Google ad campaign. All right, Google ads can work. They also sometimes don't work, right? And it's not necessarily Google ads are right or wrong. That's not the answer. But the thing is, understanding how Google ads work is important in making that decision, right? So if the Google ad is going back to people's brand, right? If that's the overall goal, because we use the term here that Google is a what we call it, a not a bidding site, but an auction site, right?
Yeah, that's how they make money.
Yeah, it's an auction site, right? Because they do it through ads. And so what's happening is they're putting your information out there, right? You can put certain demographics, certain areas, whatever it may look like for Google. But what's happening from that Google ad is people going back to your brand. All right, and there's certain parts of your brand, talk about the abstract and the concrete, that are super important. So if everybody here right now, listen to this for me if you don't mind. People are referring you out for what reason? All right, so right now in the comment box, take a little bit of time to think this over. But why are people referring you out? Stephanie, I want to hear from you. Jose, Tyler, Shannon, Kevin, I'd love to hear from you guys right now. Why are people actually referring you guys out? Because this is a great exercise for anyone to do, right? To actually reverse engineer. CGN, and I would think other good marketing companies, they don't reinvent the wheel when it comes to this stuff. What they understand is that human buying behavior is human buying behavior, right? And so if people are already referring you out because certain things attract them and maybe others to you, then it's important to dissect and isolate those things and make them go from the abstract idea to more of the concrete. So right now in the comment box, do me a favor, let me know why people are referring you out. So I got Tyler talking about he's got good experience. I love that. They hear they love our team. All right, what else, guys? What else? Why are other people actually referring you out? Because think about this for a second. A good experience. Good experience is pretty abstract, right? It's subjective and things like that too. How can we make good experience more concrete?
I mean, yeah, what is that? Like, that is a good experience. What was your expectation going in? Were you expecting a bad experience, or, defining what that actually is? But to me, having a good experience is, are you going to be on time? Are you going to be able to communicate the process? Or do you have a process? When's this going to be done? Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Honestly, just being like a good human being in terms of like communicating.
Yeah, so maybe that good experience is communication. Maybe dive a little deeper. Maybe it's the communication that you guys set good expectations up front and you guys stuck to that throughout. Maybe good communication, or maybe good experience because they actually got what they actually wanted. Or maybe they went from an actual transformation of not necessarily knowing exactly what they want, but they were able to get something what they actually wanted. So, right. So
being a guide.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't really know what to look for in an outdoor living space. Maybe I have a good idea because I saw someone's like my neighbor, but I don't live in that world. I don't know what kind of stones to use or what's going to last or anything like that. So I'm looking for someone that can guide me through that process and not just try to like sell me the most expensive thing if it's not the right fit of what I'm looking for. So I want someone that's going to ask me questions, get to know me, get to know what I'm looking for, what issues I'm actually trying to solve, and actually provide me a solution that makes sense for me.
And I love that. And I see that a couple people talk about, they like my team, right? They like me and my team. There's a lot of value in making sure that you are presenting your team to your customers. Because then it's an idea of like, I'm part of the team. There's value in saying, okay, great. I have an idea of who Chris is, what his personality is like, what things he's thinking about, what his skill set is, how it's going to be able to affect and help me as a contractor, right? Learning more about you. The other day, I think it was, Justin Sturgill, and he was saying he's from Incline, he's up in Colorado, and it was like, yep, I relate a lot with Greg because I was also a D1 athlete. So things like that, like it allows people to like understand kind of who you are, right?
Thanks for that flex, by the way.
No problem. But I'm saying, but like that's he says that, so like it's important to understand that those are real things, right? In his mind, it probably went to, okay, this guy works hard. He's experienced certain things before. He's gone through this before. He's gone through adversity. He's been good enough at a sport to be able to be considered good enough to be at a school, do X, Y, and Z. Like, so that's important information to know. Logan's situation. Aaron's situation, Mike's situation, Allie, Jen, Ian, Fort, all
You know what you're getting into.
Yes.
Like there's a personality behind it. There's a human being behind it. I know Logan's told the story all the time about, Premier Ponds. They put a lot of great content. They highlight the employees. So when they go out to a site, they're like, oh, I know Justin, I know Brad, I know all these people, because they see them. It's just builds up that likability and that trust, because frankly, a lot of people here, the contractors are going to be in people's homes. You're going to be, they're kind of having you into their lives. It is going to be somewhat of a disruption. So I want to feel comfortable with having someone in my home and working in my home. And I feel more comfortable if I've seen their face. I know it sounds silly, but just like knowing what they sound like, knowing how they, they act, are they professional, like having that out there, it makes you feel much more comfortable.
And from a contractor's perspective, this is not done in a sense of being, coercing anybody to do anything, but just realize that once you get someone on your team invested by showing them to the world, they want to stay on that team longer. So one thing that Facebook, Google, Twitter, a lot of, San Francisco, Silicon Valley companies do is what they do is they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at work. They have a gym at work. They have, a lounging space at work, and they do group work events, because the whole idea is that they get people kind of engulfed in that world where they're used to getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner at this certain space. Mm-hmm. They're used to working with certain people and hang out with those same people outside of work. They're used to having their life situations like going to the gym and relaxing happening at work. So when someone decides to leave Facebook, Google, Twitter, whatever it may be, there's a big chunk of life that is changing. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot easier for people to say, you know what, I'm going to stay here because I like it here. I like the culture, and my lifestyle is kind of aligned with my actual work. My work-life balance are actually pretty aligned in that way. So if you will have the ability, if people love your team and you love your team as well, it makes no sense at all not to be highlighting them. For people in your space, in your world, not to know who this is. I remember when Bubba had Dorian on his team, right? But I knew who that was. I know who Mike is on Premier's team, right? So I know those different members of the team, and I think that's super important. So if you have people out there who already know this information, I love that. Stephanie said we do a weekly happy hour, and we have kegs of beer at the shop, so everyone sticks around after work with beer too. Like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was in the military, that's something called the beer light, and so we'd always have beer there, and like, hey, the beer light's on. We'd all turn the beer light on, and we drink there, and it made it a whole lot easier for us, to endure the stuff that we had just done with training and things like that too. Mm-hmm. So if you guys have amazing teams, show them. If you're saying you got communication, show people. Give them a definite. I mean, right now you think about what's the plumbing company's name? Is it Benjamin Franklin Plumbing?
Yeah.
And what they do is, they're talking about how they're always on time. They're always on time. But what they actually say is, hey.
They back it up.
Yeah, they back it up. For every minute that we're late for any appointment, we'll give you $5. All right, up to $300. That's amazing, right? So
that's the abstract to the concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Like putting your money where the mouth is.
Exactly. So we can say that we communicate well and we show up on time, but if we actually go concrete and say, hey, when we do not show up, we're willing to give you $5 for every minute that we're late, so that people feel like, okay, great, this is the value that I'm actually getting, right? We talk about it all the time, but having the warranty is so important. All right, nowadays, if you don't have a 5-year warranty on your products, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. For most services, I understand some services don't necessarily make sense, but for most services that are actually in this group, it makes no sense if you know that your product's going to last structurally for 15, 20, 30 years. Then have the actual stuff there as well. People who are like in Stephanie's world who do decks, all right? You've got to drive the narrative on how often you should be getting these services repaired and things like that as well. So I was hearing a lot of people talk about word of mouth, and I think that what happened was they're doing all these great things, but they're holding them so close to their chest that people did not know about. If you communicate well, then how are you showing that online? If you have a great team, how does someone who's online find information out about your team? If you're extremely knowledgeable, what are you doing right now to show that you're knowledgeable as well? So it was a very similar conversation for many people. I will say that, that I learned a lot of people love to be educated and they're willing to like change the way they're doing things. Some are hesitant, but I think that like, what do we have? We had a big projector screen that we were actually showing things on. Most often than not, what do we have showing on projector screen? Pricing.
It was kind of eye-catching. A lot of people thought we were remodeler. Like, oh, you do kitchen remodeling. It's like, oh no, we do marketing for kitchen remodelers. So it's like that was an attraction piece, because when we actually got talking to people, it was like, why do we put pricing on there? It's because when people are searching online, that's one of the questions they want to get asked. And it was like another kind of light bulb moment. Honestly, I'm sure a lot of people here, Cgtv, or have been a part of our world, like understand why we do that. But it was cool to see like the other side. That's why I have appreciation for your like front end, because you have to introduce this to people, and it's a reversal of what is thought to be like the right way to do things.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that was most people see the pricing right now as, oh, I'm just being transparent, or I'm weeding out the wrong people. The pricing really it's just a trust piece. I mean, like, yes, it weeds out the wrong people, but it also lets people who are the right people build trust with you. Because what I would hate to do is if I'm driving around my house and you see I got a $600,000 house and I've got several nice cars in my driveway, I would hate for you to come to my house and give me a price and for me to assume that price is based off of what you assume kind of money that I have. Mm. But if I can see the price and you can see the price, that's what feels great. Yeah. That's why people don't feel great when they're like, hey, if I'm not educated on this and I'm getting my car serviced, that's why I get second opinions about stuff. Or, hey, make sure I bring my dad or bring my husband or bring my wife with me when I'm going to get my, buying a car, because I don't want to be taking advantage of the situation. So it's a huge piece that's there, but I love being able to show the industry that there's more out there than just the run of the mill, right? It's not just having a website that just is a website per se. It's not just, saying I get word of mouth referrals, but not actually having a system and process to actually let that happen more consistently. So I love that. I love that a lot.
So I want to ask you, man, like I said, I feel like you were in your element out there. Like, we were attracting people in, people walking by, there was like 100 vendors there. So what were your biggest takeaways outside of, what the people were asking us about? What do you do? Like, what was a conversation that you had that you look back and you're like, oh yeah, like this is why I do this. This is why we do this at CGM.
I think my biggest takeaway was our understanding of business is a comparative advantage I don't necessarily think about too often. Like our understanding of business and construction business and like the ascension of a client is super important. Like we're asking questions along the lines of reoccurring revenue models, or, your average job size, thinking about that, and like how are people actually coming into you? Like, or is that a foot in the door process? Are more people calling you for these reasons? Are they calling you because of a pain, and because of that you're able to give them some more pleasure opportunities, or are they actually calling you for the actual services you actually provide up front? Understanding everything from like, how a marketing plan is important not only for the growth of the business, but also what parts you play as a contractor, what parts the expectations that you expect your marketing company to also play, and how can we use certain members on the team to also facilitate parts of this as well. So I think that the best conversations we had were ones that were centered around the idea of business and understanding the business, and not simply just marketing or construction, kind of cut and dry. It was really cool to have conversations with people where they're open enough for us to like dive into what they got going on, and for us to kind of like speak the same language, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like we all would do better if we knew better, right? And so when I remember you pulled up, I don't know, I think you're talking to a remodeler, right? And I think you pulled up Joe Fry's, one of our clients' specs when it comes to SEO. And he looks at it and it's like, oh shoot, like what this guy is getting in one day is what I get in a year, right? And that is cool to be able to show things like that, yeah, because it's cool to be able to kind of like, beat your chest a little bit, show like what kind of results you're able to get for people. But I think that when people think of, okay, great, and this is not necessarily against ads, but hey, when I run ads, what I'm currently doing is I'm throwing money at a situation, and maybe it costs me overall $150 or so for a lead, so be it, and that lead comes and goes. But when I'm actually spending that same kind of money and actually investing into my brand and building brand and actually, let's say, building content or, buying things that are actually going to stand the test of time and building that brand, it's like, oh shoot, I can see how it's totally different. I can see how people like Home Advisor are still in business because there's still a market for that, right? Mm-hmm. People don't necessarily want to always have to market themselves. They want to be able to rely on that brand. But then I can see how once I've elevated myself maybe from that situation, or maybe I have a different situation where I need to now be branding myself in a totally different way. So I think it was cool to talk about business that way.
I agree. Yeah, I think you had some really cool conversations, like hearing that about Home Advisor and how like all those other brands, and people generally like recognize what's going on. Like, yes, I understand, like I am in this bidding war and like typically it sucks, but like I kind of have to do it because I'm so far in kind of thing.
But they don't see a clear path outside of it.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. That's really cool. Well, you have any major other techniques you'll talk about? Because I'd love to kind of talk about CGN stuff. But what
I'd say my thing is like you told me, Logan at Asphalt, so there were 6 of us there. He said, all right, scale 1 to 10. How did you think that went? I think we were all in like the 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 range, just like kind of overall. I was thinking about it more on my drive home. I mean, I had like a 3-hour drive home and was just thinking like, I do, and I think you even mentioned it to me today, like I personally know a lot more than I give myself credit for. Like I've been here at CGN, I think this will lead into what we want to talk about next, but here, like, been doing it for 8 months, like, really digging into what we do, getting into the business of contracting, like, getting into their world. And, I mean, I'll be honest, like, probably suffered from some, like, imposter syndrome, just, like, coming in and, like, okay, I'm on this learning curve, somewhere on this learning curve. I'll get there, but I never, like, stopped to think about, like, what I've learned so far. And, like, even just having conversations at the trade show and like thinking back, it's like I would never have been able to have that conversation even a month ago, or can't imagine 6 months ago not having that conversation. So it was a cool like reflective moment, and I'm really, like I told Logan, I was like, my biggest thing was like I'm proud to be like to represent CGN, because like I really do think we do a kick-ass job, but I know like even for me coming in and trying to learn all this, and Chris, I know you do an awesome job. We have great people here, but sometimes I don't think we give ourselves credit for what we do. And I know I'm sure as a lot of people, the in between the years can be the biggest obstacle. And I've really kind of had that reflective moment of being like, you know what, I have learned a lot. I'm not there yet. I'm going to continue learning. There is no there. That's not like a finish line, but it's cool to see where I've come from. So that was cool.
That's a great segue straight into like kind of like who CGN is and kind of like what's happening at CGN. So many of you have known CGN from different walks and different parts of our like journey, right? So you got people who known us all the way from when we were full sale marketing, maybe even before that to when it was just Logan helping out his dad. Many people knew us when we were CGN with the house logo. Many of us, now see CGN kind of who we are right now. A lot of, if we're just calling it out, I think it's worth a little bit of a pat on the back to think about CGN was recognized by Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States, right? So that's pretty cool. And we are very much mission oriented to change the industry, give people back time with their families, help out those who want to help themselves. Like we are very much in that space, and we grow as well. So right now, when we do things that are very, in our minds, sometimes innovative, right? So it's either innovative or pivoting, however you want to call them. But we've done a really good job of seeing the next benchmark, hitting that benchmark, pivoting, doing the best thing for the clients, taking them along with you, being able sometimes to explain. I know we said we're going to Kansas City, but we're still going to go to Kansas City. But instead of us taking I don't know, interstates to Kansas City, but let's say I-40 to Kansas City, we're actually going to take 55 north, whatever that may be. I don't know if that's actually accurate or not, but something along those lines, right? So we've done a pretty good job of doing that. And what's happening right now is we're recognizing that the things we're doing for our customers that are really working is long-term brand building, right? So, I think that it's going to come to a place where we understand that, yes, there's a value for ads, right? Because ads can do something for you in the short term. Sometimes it kind of caps out, and it's probably going to become more and more competitive when more people are spending more money on ads and inflation and all that kind of stuff too. But we are proud we're able to say, okay, great. We've been able to build a company that no longer needs ads. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, we've come very much into like, hey, let's slow down the sales process, right? We used to do, you come on board with CGN, we have a kickoff call for you. We kind of go into the whole world, what you got going on right now, where do you want to go? We kind of build out a website for you, give you some coaching surrounding that. We'll give you the best practices, and you go on your way, and we're going to reach back out to you to see how things are going. We're going to help you out that way. But right now, we're taking a step back. And for some time, for probably about 3 or 4 months, we were doing, audits, about $500 audits to kind of understand more about website and social media presence and things like that too. But now what we're doing is absolutely amazing, because what we're doing is we're really building you out an 18-month plan. And when people get to see what's going to be done for them over 18 months and what's required of them over 18 months, and gives them clarity on here are the, for lack of better words, keyword strategies that we're going to be having, right? So how are we actually going to be able to attack these things and why that's important to your overall goal, right? So if your overall goal is to increase your job size by doing more outdoor living spaces and not simply just doing the one retaining wall or the one patio, but actually be able to increase that, what we're going to now do is we're going to create landing pages for you, service pages for you, right? We're also going to create location service pages, right? So specifically certain locations as well. We're also going to talk to you about what's the strategy going forward. The first couple months when we're doing this, that, and the third, higher level, or maybe we go straight to the the bottom of the funnel. We talk about people the 4% of people who are looking to buy right now, and then we want to expand that out to more people. So it's been absolutely amazing to kind of see how we are setting ourselves up for success in the future. But that all comes with the idea that we had people here in the office that were prepared for a different trajectory, right? Their skill set, their what they were hired for. But I think that we've really understood this whole idea of process over people. That sounds coming out of my mouth pretty whatever about it, but the whole idea of process for people has been pretty impactful as well.
Yeah, and you alluded to it. I watched Cgtv from last week. And first, I thought it was really cool that Logan, I feel like we've always been transparent, but I feel like that was just super we're just gonna let it rip. And I was on Cgtv with you, past couple months, and honestly, I always felt okay, I need to say something really beneficial and give some a gold nugget and all that stuff, and then you would just go on and go on and go on and go on. But going into tonight, it's it's just comfortable. I'm gonna be open, honest, transparent. Like you said, the process over people. Listening to Logan talk last week, and I know everyone feels the same. It's everyone's motivated here to be the best part, to be that piece of the puzzle that is CGN, to be the part that's going to keep this thing running and going to be the best thing for our clients. And it's honestly, it's exciting to it's tough, but it's exciting to really dive deep into really learning this stuff. So I can articulate it better to all the legacy makers, all the clients I work with, of like what we're doing and why it's beneficial, but also new innovative ways to get there quicker and obviously get them the results that they want to see. And it's amazing that like I'm learning a completely new industry, not contracting in itself, but like the whole digital space of marketing. And like I said, being able to articulate that like at the trade show last week was like, oh shit, like, okay, I have learned a lot.
Well, listen, give a quick synopsis right now of what SEO is.
SEO is getting unpaid traffic to your site. So that is the 30,000 foot overview of it. But it's essentially, the way I think about it is Google wants to give the best experience to the people that are actually searching, a user. And so it's really kind of more human than you think. And so we want to make it the experience as a human to human interaction as possible. Now it's going to be it's a user against your website or your page or social media content, whatever that may be. But we want to give this best experience to them. Now, the technical part behind that, there is a lot of signaling to Google about, hey, this is what my website's all about. This is what this landing page is all about. This is what this blog post is all about. There's a lot of that technical stuff. But at the end of the day, people want to just get information to solve their problem. And putting that information in easy to read, easy formats, see pictures, see videos of it, like it's cool to, honestly, it's human psychology, but in the digital form. And like a lot of that stuff's like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like people want to see, no one wants to read a freaking thesis paper on the top kitchen trends. They want to see a short snippet. This is the trend. This is a picture of it. Here's what's going on. Like put that in a nice package. And that's what Google wants to see. So like I said, there's a lot of technical stuff behind the scenes that goes on with it, but it really is providing a good experience and answering the questions that people are asking.
Gotcha, love that. And so if someone is looking at SEO and thinking to themselves of like, how can I understand if am I doing SEO? Is the SEO that I'm doing that's working? Like what, I guess, signals or parameters which you talk about right now? Because like, I mean, I talk with you all the time with going through SEMrush, going through Google Analytics and all those different things as well. But like, what would you say?
Honestly, it's the stuff we've been preaching is it is storytelling. Like it is providing an experience of what you're doing, what problems you're solving. Like, yes, we talk about SEO, I think of Google and maybe even like Yahoo and Bing, but a lot of it is posting on social media about what you're doing, showing that experience. Like watching TJ put a video online about a project he just completed and how they had pizza and wine night. Like that is an experience that other people want to feel. And so putting that online, like, yes, I look at Google Analytics. I see metrics all the time. Like I want to see that graph go up. But in order to do that, you got to be able to do some research beforehand of what people are looking for and actually put that online. It's no different than what we started this conversation with, of having concrete evidence of what you're doing makes sense to people.
I love this. I'm here right now, so it's a little bit late, but I saw that Jeff Stump, who's got an awesome truck wrap. Jeff, your truck wrap is awesome because it does all the right things. He's got a cool logo, got some pretty eye-catching colors, and the truck wrap is simple and yet extremely effective, right? So when his truck drives down the street, I know people know exactly who he is, and thankfully, they also know exactly what he does, and it's just cool name recognition and all that kind of stuff too. But he says that he has been steadily trying to building his brand, 100% organic leads for about 2 years. That's amazing. So like, if we're pushing to do those things, if we're spending the time, energy, and effort to do that, the opportunities are huge, right? And so it's silly to say that there's not a space at all for ads, because there's definitely is, right? People are going to continue to run ads between now and the end of time, I truly believe, right? But now
it kind of scratches an itch almost, and like you said, it is like a short-term thing. Like it has its place for sure. What I have learned through conversion rate optimization courses, like there is a lot that goes into it. Like when you even talking about truck wraps, like colors and text and all that, like there's a lot of the psychology behind it. And when you run ads, some stuff sticks, some stuff you need to like do some A/B testing with. It's honestly no different from any marketing campaign, really. But there's a lot that goes into that design, and I think it goes back, like you said, you could have this great ad that's eye-catching, but then when someone clicks on it and it goes to a site that's showing something completely different, or it's not what they were expecting, the statistics speak for themselves that you're going to have that drop off. But that's the importance of these metrics, using Google Analytics, using Google Search Console, using these other methods like SEMrush or other tools to be able to track these things of, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try to tweak this. I did a whole class on A/B testing, and it's like, yep, you do this, and you do 50% of traffic goes here, 50% goes here, see what works, and then you take that and go to the same thing. So it's a never-ending optimization process, and it's a lot of work, but that's how you get it's like the 1% better each time.
I love talking about work stuff, but let's talk about stuff like for you. It's so important, and I'm just going to be open and stuff like that. It's so important for that we take care of ourselves, take care of our health, and that kind of stuff too. If you had to give me an idea of like, because I truly believe you have this real stressful job here at CGN.
Why do you think that?
Just because dude, you have an awesome situation where you have some awesome people to take care of, but also a lot of the things that you are doing are in Google's hands, not necessarily in your hands, right? So you're doing a lot of the things that Google loves and respects and things like that too, but Google's still king in this situation. And so you're oftentimes looking, optimizing, getting guidance, putting your input, getting information from the contractor, doing all these things with the same pursuit of growing and getting the results people want. And that's awesome. Sometimes it's expectation setting. Sometimes it's revealing the successes that have happened. Sometimes it's giving people understanding of like, hey, this is going great for you right now. And because we hear all the time, I mean, let's think, Kyle Carr, talk to him, was it
Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday of last week, and hearing, okay, yeah, I'm $2 million over what I did the year previous. That's amazing, right? But unless we're actually seeking that stuff, oftentimes that stuff flies through the cracks, right? Bubba consistently doing his highest projects he's ever done, and seeing the things that he's doing right now, opening up a new business as well, like in the panhandle of Florida. Love that. Seeing people, Justin Sturgill had his first $100,000 day, which is absolutely amazing. 2 or 3 years into business and having a business that's able to do this is absolutely amazing. So I feel like your job is so hard because you get a lot of the triumphs, right? But you also are managing the things that people are like, they're so itching for things to happen right now. And so you're always having to manage that. So for you, how is that for you? I mean, I know it's stressful, but how is it?
I'm a perfectionist at heart. I want to provide the right answer. I want to be the correct answer. I want it to be the answer that they don't need to come back and ask me any questions for. And that is very difficult in this world of SEO because, and truthfully, I didn't even believe this when I first came in about like, hey, there are no guarantees with SEO, or no guarantees that you'll be on the top, ranked number 1 on Google. And I'm thinking like, what do you mean? Like someone's got it. Like someone has that position. They got to get there. Like what do they do to get there? Now there is, steps to get there. There's the technical aspect, but like to me that just didn't really sit well because it's like, how can we not guarantee that? But it took me to not like we have Ian here, our SEO, director who come out of Silicon Valley, knows a crap ton about SEO. But it took me to actually like listening to other SEO podcasts, listening to other experts, doing my own research online to really like buy into the fact that yes, there are, staples to do in this world of SEO of like, setting up your GMB correctly, posting online, writing good content, doing keyword, all that stuff. But ultimately it is a continuous process. Like it is a never-ending optimization process. People on here probably heard us talk about Todd Tribble, like we're going to see this week. Really good place at SEO wise, but like it's a continuous thing. Like I sat down with Ian today going through like some of his blogs from 2 years ago need to be updated because they decay over time. And so the thing with me is like it's a never ending process. Like it's always, you're always going to need to do it. But the beauty of it is an investment. It is like, it does work. I see it work with clients that have gone through it and been in there long enough time in the pocket. And that helps me to be like, I know that this stuff works. It's really just like, we need to get to that point. We need to do what we need to do on CGN side, but this is a two-way street. Like,
But how do you deal with that? Because like outside of the work stuff, like that's stress, dude. Like every time I call Bubba, it's a fun conversation. Every time I call Andrew Pellick, it's a fun conversation. Every time I call, Keith Smith, it's a fun conversation. And oftentimes because I don't have to, I think that sometimes we all love the Richard Lees of the world where it's like, gotcha, they trust you, they believe in you, they know it's going to work. Hey, yeah, man, I'm reporting off of what happened last month, what happened this week, what happened, what's going on for next week. They love it. It's cool. Thumbs up. Couple questions. Great. We move on. But at the same time, I also respect the people out there that need to have, guidance. Like Matt, is it Ademiak? Mm-hmm. Matt is a great guy with Valdec. And I think that I value the fact that he has him and his wife, and they are seeking to understand it all, right? So like they are analyzing the stuff as you guys go through everything together. I see a little bit also that with Tyler Johnson too. He wants to understand the why behind it because I think he wants to be good at what he's doing, right? And wants to make sure that if there's anything he can input with it as well. So I just think that there is so much into, it's like you have a fulfillment role, you have a project management role, you have oftentimes a coaching role as well, where in the sense of just kind of like, giving them the marketing strategy that they're looking for. That's a lot, but how do you deal with it?
I turn to you. I turn to Logan. No, seriously, I turn to Logan. Like you guys have lived this. It is stressful because, and if it wasn't stressful, I'd be more concerned because it means that I do give a shit. Like I do care. I want the same results that Tyler Johnson wants. Like I do. I want to see him skyrocket because I see how awesome he is in his business, and I want to make this work, and I know the steps to get there. Do I want it to happen overnight? Absolutely. But do I know that it is a long-term play? Yes. So how I deal with it is talk it out with you guys, talk it out with my wife, but really it comes down to educating myself so I can educate the people that I'm working with. And that is a driving factor for me, spending nights, spending weekends, like doing these courses and learning as much as I can, listening to these podcasts, coming into work, so I can be a better service to the people I work with, and being able to articulate, hey, this is not a 1 month ordeal, but let me tell you why, and let me tell you how we're going to get there in this time period. And so it's not just like, hey, just trust me. It's, hey, let me explain this. If you want to know the back end, the technical stuff, let's dive into it. Like, I want to be as transparent as possible too, and know that like I have your best interests at heart. Is it always going to be this, sharp spike? Probably not. But, I can live with the fact that we are doing what's in the best interest for our clients. And I push myself. Is it stressful? Absolutely. But I know that at the end of the day, when I get the wins from the Andrew Pellicks, the Joe Fry's, the Tyler Johnsons, like that is what we work for. That is what I work for. So is it stressful? Absolutely. But the more I learn, the more I can articulate it, the better I can explain it, the better we can, as CGN, improvise and innovate and get better. Like I know that it works, and so I want to get there.
And I think anybody at CGN would probably say that I'm probably the most critical person. Would you say that's true?
Critical of what?
Of just processes, people. I think everybody talked about what was your overall takeaway, or what was your ranking
Yeah.
of the trade show? I think everybody was saying 8 or 9. I probably said 3. You know, because I want to be like not seeking perfection, but I seek a higher level of excellence at every turn. Right? We're at the trade show. I'm telling Mike, the person just walks by you. Don't let anybody walk by you without actually engaging with them and having a conversation. Right? Saying hello at least. And like the small things like that. I'm so particular about that stuff. But I have to give credit where credit's due when I think about the idea of like strong leadership. Like I think about a lot of the people that we work with in our world as well. Stephanie's here, so I'm going to talk about Stephanie. Stephanie is leading her team, leading her family life at home, taking care of all those things. I think that's pretty cool. When I see someone also in that same world, Chris Olson, who's like saying, "Hey, look, I'm having team meetings now." Talking to Dwight, he's having doing stuff with his team. I love that, and I think that the reason I'm saying give credit where credit's due is because right now at CG, I think that we have a higher level of leadership that's actually happening here. Because when you have situations where we're consistently innovating and we're pivoting, naturally employees like stability. They like to be able to come in, have a skill set, execute on that skill set, get good at it, and proficient at it, and so that they don't feel like they're messing things up or having an embarrassment of not accomplishing things at the highest level that they can on a consistent basis. But when you change things, there's inevitably a part that you can potentially slip down, and that effectiveness is actually completing the task because it's a new skill set to learn. And so it is really cool right now to see how people are saying, "Hey, I'm going to be the subject matter expert on this." They're also humbled enough to understand that like it takes time. They're educating themselves, so going out and finding the information as well, and being able to simply say, sometimes like when it makes sense to say, "Hey, I'm not the best person to answer that question for you. Let's push it off to somebody else." Example is this: I love sales. I love them. All right, I love doing sales. Don't want to do sales forever? No, but I think that I'm pretty damn good at it. So because of that, there's a certain bit of like loving it. I also want to impute that to every person that I can, right? I want to be able to give that information out to every single person that I can so that they have that skill set to sell. I self-proclaim and I say, "Hey, the Luwans of the world, I helped him learn how to sell. The Anthony Abbotts of the world, I helped him learn how to sell. The other people out there that I think are consistently doing a good job of selling, I feel proud when I've had some type of interaction with them to help them help them along their journey, right? By no means at all am I like the person that got them there. No, but at the same time, as I know that we've had interactions that have pushed in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And so right now, looking at it and realizing that like I can't scale myself, right? I can't scale what I do. But I'm very happy to know that there's an organization out there with the battleground that can actually push people for people to actually say, "Okay, great, I can learn how to sell this information as well." Like that's where I learned how to sell, mm-hmm. right? So it is super cool for us to also be able to say, "Hey, it's not best that we answer those questions," right? I remember one day when Jen was talking to somebody and she was giving them pretty sound information and advice, but it was about bookkeeping. And the thing about that is, it's like, yes, Jen, maybe you know information right there, but it's not best for us to give information about bookkeeping. That's not necessarily our world. Our world is very much marketing, strategy, your offer, the client ascension, like what you should be doing over time, SEO. That's who we are. And so it's super cool just to kind of, for us to humble ourselves in some way, right? And say certain things we're really damn good at. And certain things, we can answer those questions, but it's probably best that you are getting the best answer from the best qualified source. And I think that's one thing that we're really, really good at not just taking on it all and wanting to be the hero and answer every single question, mm-hmm. and provide every single thing. I think Logan talked about a little bit about the idea too, like we kind of had our foot sometime like in the coaching space. And it's like, but what are we coaching on? Well, we're really coaching on marketing. And that's what we're best at coaching on, right? We're really coaching on the idea sometimes of sales, but realistically, like at what degree can we do that at? Versus giving people like the fundamental foundation and allowing them to go explore and actually hone their craft on sales in other places as well. So it is super cool right now for us to grow. And that grows a little bit more steady eddy growth than the, rocket ship growth that we've had previously before. For me, granted, I'm a fiend for like that strong, fast growth, but at the same time, it's also, I want to say calming, but it's also like you feel good being able to see things grow foundationally and roots getting deeper, right? And versus you just growing high as you can to the sun. It's like, no, it's great to see the roots getting, because I will say, for me, for a very long time, I felt like I put a lot of pressure on my shoulders because it's like, if Chris left CGN, where are we now? And I don't mean that in a cocky way, because I think we all have our value, but I love the fact that if I left CGN today, I would still feel very, very confident that CGN is fine from a sales front, because I get to see what you are capable of at a trade show. I get to see what Jen's capable of. I get to see what Ryan's capable of. I get to see what Allie's capable of. That makes me feel good to know that we've I won't say cross-trained, but we've solidified exactly who we are, and then now we can do the things that we set out our minds out to do.
Yeah, we're not so compartmentalized. We're not so siloed. It's like, I went up to Alden today and asked him how to do something, like edit something on a website. Now it's like, I know how to do those things now. And it's much easier when you know what the whole process is going on behind the scenes and like whose responsibility is what. Yes, Alden is our website guy and he knows what the hell he's doing, and like he's that person, but it's important for everyone else to kind of understand at least what's going on behind the scenes, and at least generally, okay, if Alden's not here, I can do a quick edit and be able to figure this out myself.
It was cool today. You were on the phone. You heard me on the phone today, but we're talking to Tim Brown, who's the owner of Hook Agency, and they are an agency, a marketing agency specifically kind of for roofers. And for him to kind of talk about how he wanted to pick our brains, right, and like see about like the other things that we're doing over here in our end. And I'm like, from our perspective, man, it looks like you're doing a really good job. And so it was cool to kind of hear him say that. And obviously we have a lot to learn as well, man, but it feels really good right now that we're not too proud to grow, learn, innovate, get better, humble ourselves. It just feels good right now that we're in a space that, because I used to only associate that good feeling from the growth, right? The super rapid, awesome growth. That's what I came on here for. That's what I love to do. But at the same time, it feels really good to be able to say, like, look, man, we're growing these roots really extremely deep. We've got a team that can best take care of our clients. Because for me, I will say the one thing, I'm a pretty open book. And the one thing that I feel like frustrated me ever, because I mean, I've been called all the names in the world by, those things don't matter to me. But when people think that I don't care, that I feel like that's the one thorn in my side that actually gets to me. When people think that I don't care, they associate the idea because I love selling, which I really don't. It's not the selling aspect. I love giving people a solution. Yeah, I love problem solving, giving people a solution. And I love being out there and aggressive towards that because I want people to succeed. And that's the one thing that it is. But I think that it's crazy because when anybody comes to CGN and there's one thing that I harp on people not having, what is that? Do you know what that is? If you're at CGN and I'm like, I get mad about, if we're at a meeting and you don't have a what do I get mad about? What is my big thing that I'm always like pushing people for? You can't guess?
No. What are you talking about?
It's client wins.
Oh, yes. Okay. I was thinking like a notebook. What?
No. It's client wins.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I think that it's so important to take care of your clients. You need to be seeking information out. And so like, that's why I think that it's so important. Like we are setting ourselves up to take care of our clients in the ways that are so impactful.
Yeah, the way you approach it, like for someone like Alden, like to actually see the impact that he's making, I think it's extremely important to be able to have that translated back to the people that aren't necessarily customer facing, and being able to experience those wins too.
Yeah, it's like, Alden, you're building this website out because of this situation. When I get to see that Jeff has, for 2 years, organic opportunities, dude, that's what your websites are helping produce.
Yeah.
Right? When Allie, when you're able to have a conversation with somebody and you're able to say to them, hey, just increase your prices a little bit, right? It's super cool because now they're able to sell at a higher margin, putting more money in their bank account as well. It is something that I love our ability right now to care for our clients to the nth degree. That's super cool.
I love that too, man. That's honestly why I joined CGN. I saw the impact that CGN had on people's lives, and I wasn't feeling that with where I was, and like I have that direct impact now. It's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in today. What I will say is this. It is a little bit past the middle of the year, right? We're a little bit beyond,
July 25th.
yeah, so a little bit, about 25 days past the. Just don't forget your why. I think that in all this hustle and bustle, we can forget that. Forget why we're waking up, why we're doing these things, why we made this commitment to ourselves. It is really easy to lose sight of that. I would just challenge everyone out there to remember, why you decided to become your business owner, why you do what you do, and remember those things, because it is really easy that during the suck, you start to negotiate with yourself. Should I do this? I know I said I was going to do X, Y, and Z, but maybe I'll just do this instead. But understanding and keeping that why close is super impactful and super important. So I challenge you guys all to remember your why. And I'll see you guys next Monday. Have a great trip in Michigan, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'll talk to you soon.